Hey, Winject Studios community.
That music gets me pumped, bro. Every time.
I actually just realized that I'm wearing the same shirt as in the intro video. Winject Studios, what are we talking about? What are we talking about with the community today, Zach?
How to stand out in a noisy world. We are living in a completely digital, noisy world. When I don't mean noisy in the sense that it's loud, like I can't hear anything, but more in the sense it's more in the sense that there's so much out there today, right? So there's so many things that are causing people to be distracted by all kinds of different things coming in. So today we're going to talk about some things that we feel like you can do specifically to make you stand out or help you stand out in this world. So
like going outside and screaming, "I've got a podcast."
I think that's actually number one. That's the number one thing. That would be the first thing that I would do is just to go outside and
write a letter.
Write a letter.
Some letters to your neighbors. No, those are all awful ideas.
But don't mail them, fax them.
Fax them.
Only fax them.
Yeah. So for real. So this is kind of your expertise. So let's go ahead and just start digging in.
Yeah. So we've mentioned this a bunch already, and on this podcast or on this live several different times. And one of the things is photos. Photos. Spend the money on good photos. I'm telling you, it makes a huge difference, whether it's your website, whether it's social media, it doesn't matter. If you have terrible photos, people don't pay attention. Well, that's not true. I think that people will pay attention, maybe for the wrong reasons. They may want to be like, laugh at how bad their photos are.
That is an interesting phenomena that I've seen recently. I was looking at a colleague's ad campaign they were running, and they were getting really good responses. I'm like, oh, let me look at your ads. And they were the ugliest ones I've ever. I'm like, why are these ads so ugly? And there's like, the ugly ads make them stop and look. So you could go like on the opposite end of the spectrum and make like the ugliest looking ad. And maybe that's how you want to play it. But yeah, no, to Zach's point, photos are going to make everything. And, it might seem like we were beating a dead horse with this because we've talked about it several times now, but photos make the website. They make the brand. They make the ads that you use for your show. It's literally is everything. And, one of the things that I always recommend is ask for recommendations from a friend or a colleague or a business associate, whatever, and see who they've used for recent photos. Even if it's like a family photographer, they probably know good places to get you some really good like lifestyle shots and stuff like that. So ask for a recommendation and then find a really good, just a good like photographer who will not a photographer who's going to give you like 3 photos from like a multi-hour shoot. You want a photographer who's going to give you access to like all the photos that they take, or at least all the ones that they go through and they color correct. Because at that point you can stretch just a couple hours or an hour of a photo shoot into several months or even maybe a year or longer of promotions and ads and stuff like that. And then, obviously we'll go on your website and stuff like that. So.
Yeah. We can't stress it enough. We talk about it all the time, but especially when we are sitting down with a client to do website work, they pick out the theme they want to use. They pick out and say, this is what I want it to look like. And we tell them every time, listen, the next step is to spend money on a good photographer. It makes a huge impact. And like I said before, it doesn't necessarily have to just translate onto your website. That's where most people are going. If you're a small business owner, you're listening, podcaster, doesn't matter. Get some good photos. It makes a massive difference.
Right.
The next thing I would say is what makes you unique. If it's a podcast, what topics, what people are you going to have on that makes you different than say the other shows that are talking about similar things? For example, Jason and I had a podcast a couple of years ago called Lunch Break Marketing. Talked about marketing. If you go on Apple or wherever you listen to podcasts, you type in marketing, you're going to see a slew of different marketing type podcasts.
Right.
We wanted to see what angle we could put on it that would make us different. And one of the things was the atmosphere for us. Like we were both working full time in different jobs. We were close to each other. We were about 15 minutes apart. So we would meet in the middle, and we would meet
for lunch.
Right. That's why we called it lunch break marketing. And we would meet at a restaurant. We would record, which is a terrible idea in theory. And we had to go through some serious reiterations of, all right, we recorded that and the mics were awful. Let's do it next week. And we would sit down over lunch at a restaurant, noisy as it could be, and we would set up in the back corner, and you would hear people placing orders. You remember that Thai? No, was it a Thai place?
Yeah, Fresh Bowl.
Yeah, Fresh Bowl. We would go there, and we would sit actually right by the kitchen window. Like we could see the making the food.
They would keep that table for us. Like when we came in, they were like, "Oh, you want to record?" They took us back to the back corner, which arguably is like the loudest part of the restaurant because it's by the kitchen. But they would take us by the back corner, and then they would turn down the house music so it wouldn't like interfere with the show. But yeah, go on.
Well, another thing too is they would turn the. Do you remember they would cut the phone line off? They would turn the phone volume down. They would actually move it to somewhere else when we were recording. It was they were really awesome. Yeah, we recorded there a lot. We did other ones, but what made us unique is we took our lunch break and played into that whole thing of like, what if we call it lunch break marketing? Mm-hmm. It's different. Make it bite-sized so that somebody's sitting down for their lunch break. They can listen to it on their phone or wherever in about 15 minutes while they have a lunch break. And we felt like that was the biggest thing that could differentiate us, make us unique than say these other marketing podcasts that are out there. So we would recommend you doing what makes you different. What's your differentiator?
Yeah. Play into that hard. Like, because yes, there's probably somebody out there talking about what you're talking about, but those people aren't you, right? You are unique. You have your own personality. You're putting your own spin on it, ideally. So play into that. Like if your thing is like, you're very frank with how you speak, be frank with how you speak on the show. Be frank with your marketing language that you use. Be very direct in your promotional material. Like just play into that, hard. And that will end up just becoming your brand, right? Yeah. And then also I want to throw out there just to make sure that for those who are listening, if they want to communicate with us while we're on the show or leave us feedback after the show, you just text us at 843-396-2104. It's also down there at the bottom of the screen scrolling. Or you can message us at Jason Marlowe, at Zack Tatum, at Winject Studios. So you can connect with us any of those ways, or you can just actually comment while you're watching the show live. But yeah. Yeah,
and also make sure that you go and visit winject.com. This is where we're very proud of this website. We built the site, and we're thrilled to see it live and people using it. You can also go to sitenowlive.com/Winject to see the exclusive offers we are offering to the Winject community. But you have to be a Winject community member. So anyways, yes, back to it. So one of the things, Jason, you talked about was with media. There are a couple things that we would recommend if you're trying to stand out, make yourself unique.
Oh, yeah. So
in this space.
So like the stop and look factor. So when you have advertising, you want to make somebody stop the scroll, right? Because we're just conditioned because we're talking specifically about social media here, right? Promoting your podcast, promoting your brand through social media. You have to do things that make people stop. So whether it's the first few seconds of a video that you have playing, or if it's a really ugly ad or like a really good looking ad.
Because people will stop and talk to you.
Exactly. There was this one thing, this one ad I kept seeing, and it was for a mattress company, and they were promoting this fancy new mattress. I was going through we were going through this thing here at home a while back, and we were trying to figure out what mattress we were going to use. Are we going to use this one? Are we going to use this, the purple one? X, Y, and Z brands. There's a million of them out there, and you're just really trying to figure out which one you're going to get. And because of that, I kept getting ads from all over the place. And there's this one ad from this manufacturer, and it was this disgustingly old mattress that was like just soiled and just nasty. But that was the first few
on the side of the road.
It was the first few clips of the ad, and I immediately would stop every time because I would see it over and over. I'm like, what is this? And I ended up stopping. I watched the whole ad because they were talking about chucking your old mattress, and they were they're talking about getting rid of your old mattress, getting this new mattress. I ended up going on their website. I ended up looking at it. And my ad ended up adding them to like the comparison that I was working on for the mattress that we were going to go with at home. But I said all that to say it stood out to me. It's something that made me stop the scroll, maybe something that made me stop and look. And I think that as a podcaster or a small business owner, it's really important that you find these little ways to take, promotional material that you have, whether it's like a photo or audio, and then turn that into things that make people stop the scroll. So like the first thing I would say is Cinemagraphs.
Yeah, Cinemagraphs. That's right. Yeah, so it's
been around for a while, right?
Yeah, it's been around. It's been around for a while. I've used them in some of my marketing pieces in the past for different companies, including some stuff for our podcast, for our brand as well. So basically, Flixel actually has a thing called Cinemagraph Pro. You can do it straight on your phone. You can use stock video. You can use videos that you shoot on your phone or whatever it is. Basically, the way it works is you take a video. It will still, you can freeze frame in one particular spot. Let's say, for example, you are sitting in a restaurant and you want to get the smoke coming off of your cup. Or maybe it's you're reading a book and you want to show that you're turning pages, but everything else you want still. So you can have just the page flips moving in the video or the still. And nothing else is moving. Everything is still like a photo. So it does. We go and look them up. Cinemagraphs. If you just type that in, you'll see all kinds of examples.
It's like a photo with a video element inside of it.
Yeah. So if you see it's really interesting, and it will make you stop. I saw one earlier today when I was looking at them again. It was a bowl of fruit, and there was two flies. Like it took me a second to see it at first, but then I noticed, I was like, oh wait, there's this bug's moving. So there's a bug moving across the leaf down to the bottom. And there's another one moving across the top. Or there's a pair of glasses, and it's like you're looking through the glasses and everything's blurred around it except where your lenses are, and it's leaves falling. It was pretty neat. So yeah, so those are some easy ways. If you're a podcaster, we've mentioned this brand before. Baird is a good friend of ours, and he has a company. I think they just recently have sold it, but it's 𝗚𝗓𝗡. 𝗚𝗓𝗡 is a awesome thing for podcasters. Two V's, yes, that's right. 𝗹𝗶𝗸𝗲. Basically, here it just creates a waveform of your podcast. You could put some graphics behind it. You put your audio on top of that, and it creates a waveform underneath there to put on social media. So you say you don't have video as part of your podcast right now. It doesn't matter. You can create these videos to put on social media, and it does that stop and look factor that Jason's talking about, right? So those waveforms will catch people's eye, and you can put as long of a clip or short of a clip if you want to get people to keep going. So we recommend those.
We had great success when we were initially building our podcast using those. We had the first step we did was we went and had headshots and other like promo shots taken for our brand. And then we used those like in the background, and then we put text over it explaining what the show was. And then we had the audio waveform. So it was very dynamic. So like when you were on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook and you were scrolling and you saw it, it would make you, take notice. I think also there are services out there outside of Wave, like I believe we talked about Envato elements and stuff like that in the past, but they have products like for free. I think their sub brand is called 𝗱𝗏𝗏𝗧. And it has free materials just like that as well. So like you can upload a picture of yourself, and you can upload audio, and it will like create a very cool graphic as well. So you can use those to promote your show. You can also use those as intros and outros for video content as well. So lots of great stuff out there to use for free, but definitely something that's engaging. That's like motion. That's what's going to do it. People are going to stop and take notice of motion.
Speaking of motion, I don't know if you noticed, we both like to talk with our hands. So I'm doing this, you're doing this. Anyway, side note.
Yes.
So another thing to stand out, this seems like a no-brainer, especially with social media. We live in a hashtag-heavy world. Social media hashtags are everywhere: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Ride the wave of some of the ones that are getting the most attention. Mm-hmm. Not just that, but just how can you put your spin on it? Not just put a post out there and hashtag just because it's trending, but try to do something that connects with it, that can get some attention that way. To stand out a little bit.
So you can real quick. I want to talk about Winject real quick, and then we'll move back on to that. But again, if you guys want to talk to us now, or if you want to give us feedback after the show, or just join the community and get updates from Winject, and like you'll know when shows are coming out, make sure you text 843-396-2104. It's just like regular texting, and you can message us and we will reply back, and then you'll be in the community. But to your point about hashtags, there's also like the concept of like hashtag hijacking, but you can do it like in a good way, not like in a negative way. But several years ago, there was a company called Marketo. Well, it still is a company called Marketo, but Marketo forgot to renew their domain name. And
I remember this,
which is huge, because a lot of marketers globally use the Marketo platform. And I was at work when I heard about it, and it was like blown up on my phone. Like a lot of people I follow and are connected with were posting about it. And it was probably within the first hour or so of it happening, and I kept seeing it. So I ended up just writing an article about it. I did it as a test on my old website, because it's been several years, but this is a test on my old website. I wrote about it. I threw in GIFs inside of the article. I talked about it. I talked about how to make sure that you're renewing your service. I talked about relevant things around this topic, and I just essentially gave like a news post about what was happening, and then I posted it. And then I went on to Twitter. Twitter's the platform that I chose to try this hashtag method. But I went and I started using relevant hashtags. And then I started talking to people who were using those hashtags and getting a lot of shares on those specific topics right then. And I was saying, hey, I actually put together a whole article about this if you want to read what's happening. And I started linking to all these different people. All in all, I was about 2 hours in of time working on this. Well, within, a couple of hours after that, my website traffic went from, almost negligible to, I think, over 1,000 or 1,200 visitors just in a couple of hours, because they were coming to my site. And then I immediately had them into my marketing loop and my sphere. But it was all just a test. Like I wasn't going to actually market to them, but it was all just a test to see if I could be timely and I could be relevant and I could use hashtags to develop a brand. And it's 100% totally possible. You just have to act fast. You have to create good content, and you have to be decisive about going after specific and relevant trending hashtags. So it's a really great way to take your brand from nothing to big time visibility within a short amount of time. You just have to strike while that iron is hot.
Yeah. So keep an eye on that sort of stuff, just to see if there's anything that's relevant, especially for what you do. Is there a way you can capitalize on that and capitalize on it quickly? Because that time goes by real fast. That window is very short, like Jason said, but it can make a huge impact long term. The next thing we would suggest is just be relatable. people, something that Jess Lee and Steve said yesterday on the live yesterday, really resonated with me, and it's something that is a no-brainer, like I said before, but I think it's worth saying again, and that is to be yourself, be relatable to people. You start trying to force to look like or try to act like somebody else, people will start to see through that pretty quickly. Yeah. And it's a turnoff for most people. Most people are saying, I want somebody who's gonna be real with me. I think that's what Jess Lee was saying. Like all of her social media accounts, the way she interacts on YouTube, on her albums, on her podcast, all that stuff, it's her. What you see is what you get with her. And that's kind of what we would suggest as well. If you're captivating enough, most people are going to tune in. They're going to pay attention to you. But as soon as you start to try to be something that you're not and you're forcing it, it comes across that way. Yeah. And the best thing you can do is just be yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're a real person, kind of like what I was saying earlier, like if you're a real person, you need to be real. I'm not sure if I lost Zach here. Maybe his connection stalled out. I'm not sure. But I'll continue on. So piggybacking on that, I saw something recently it was a commercial I was watching, and it was a Geico commercial or Progressive or something like that. But I was watching this commercial, and it got me thinking about real. So Geico, they made this decision early on to be very real with their brand, right? So they chose to so we lost him. Sorry about that, guys. So Geico made a decision early on to be very real with their brand and how they communicate. They chose to be, tongue-in-cheek. They chose to be fun, right? And that real decision that they made to have an approachable brand took them to the next level. It made them the brand that goes, okay, insurance is very, very serious, but Geico has made a very targeted decision to be fun and to be approachable about something that is really hard to talk about and a little difficult to understand. So that was a very great decision because they played into the fact that they were real, and that's just what they chose to do. And because they did that, it's paid off in miles and miles and miles of sales and business down the road. So Zach, I think we lost you there for a minute, but I was just talking about how Geico made this decision to be very real early on, and they've continued to do that, and they have succeeded, and they've seen success over the years because they made that decision to be who they are, to be themselves.
Kind of like the Allstate Mayhem guy. That guy cracks me up. What is his name off of 30 Rock? Is it
Danny or Donnie or something like that? Yeah.
Donnie or something like that. Anyways.
The Beeper King.
Yeah, that's my favorite. I love that. Yeah, so like I was saying before, just be yourself, be relatable. People want to connect with you. Like in today's world, that's what we want. People want to be able to connect with who they're following. So just be as relatable as you can and connect with them as best you can, and just be yourself. And I think finally, I want to kind of leave it here unless you want to add anything else, Jason. But I want to talk to you about just tell your story. Mm-hmm. Everybody loves a good story. It doesn't matter if it's a sad story, funny story, whatever, but just tell your story, whatever gets you into the topics that you're discussing. If you're a podcaster, what makes you, what got you into that topic? What got you into whatever your theme of your podcast is? Just tell the story. Same thing goes with businesses as well. We tell our story all the time, how we got started and how we had to pivot and all that sort of stuff. So it's got a kind of bit of a roller coaster.
Everybody loves a human interest story. And as a real world example, aside from like the homepage of your website, the about page is probably one of the highest trafficked pages, if not the highest trafficked page on your site. Because once they get to your site, they immediately want to know who they're going to be working with, who are they going to be dealing with, or who are they listening to, right? Like, I want to know your story. I want to know what you're about. I want to know your background. I want to know why you are in a position to tell me things. Like, what's your credibility? And so don't skimp out when you're developing your backstory. Not like you're making it up, but when you're writing it out, say for like the about section of your website or your bio or wherever it is, you want to be detailed, not like exhaustingly so, but you want to make sure that you explain your background, you talk about yourself, because people love that. People want to know about you.
And speaking of that, if you have any questions or anything like that, or you want to give us any feedback on today, make sure you text 843-396-2104 to give us any of your feedback, to join this community that we are forming here at Winject Studios. We would love to have you on board. And yeah, you can check Jason out at Jason Marlowe and Zack Tatum on social accounts as well, Winject Studios as well. We would love to hear your feedback. If you have anything for us, that'd be great. Looks like we do have one question. How do you navigate being relatable versus being credible? Can you be too relatable in a way that diminishes your authority? Absolutely. Yeah, you can. I think that you got to be careful. You don't want to go too far into you don't want to go too personal where you give a lot of personal information out there, right? Mm-hmm. You want to make sure that you kind of filtered a little bit. I think you can share some things through a filter that gives the person enough information that they can connect with you, but not so much that you're giving out a lot of your personal information that you may not want out there long term. Would you add anything to that, Jason?
Yeah, I would just say that, I mean, I guess you could be too relatable, like too approachable, but I don't know. I feel like it's a really fine line. I think it's important to be very relatable to your audience. But I think it's specific to your brand too. So like, I would want somebody, if they knew me from a show or from something, to be able to feel like they could say hello to me.
Sure.
Like, yeah. I don't want somebody to be like, oh, that's Jason, but like, I'm never going to go say hello to him because, he's too standoffish. So like, I think you should be personable, but I think it's also what balance works for you.
Right. Yeah, I think it's what you're comfortable with, I guess, is probably the best way to say it. I think you can go too far to one side where people get turned off by that, but some people may eat that up and they love that. So you really just kind of have to sit there and try to find what's that lane you actually want to be in and share what you're most comfortable with.
Right.
That's a good question.
Yeah. So just to recap about Winject. So at Winject Studios, we're building this community of purpose-driven podcasters, right? And we're building it and we're empowering you, meaning we're giving you the tools, we're giving you the insight, we're giving you the feedback. You not only can learn from the experts, but you can have like this, almost like this coaching program where it shows you the tips and the tricks to, how to develop your show, how to develop your brand, how to build that brand online, how to monetize your show. It's all the things that you're asking. The Winject Studios community can help take you through that process. So go to winject.com, check it out. Lots of information there. If you're just a listener, you can go and just click on the watch tab and you can just watch the most recent shows. You can connect with all the other shows within the community.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It's not just for podcasters. Like we had 𝗪𝗲 on yesterday, and she's going to be releasing all kinds of benefit for you to be a listener, for you to be a part of the community that you're not going to get anywhere else but through the Winject community. So it's important to get. We're bringing a lot more people on as we speak. So there will be more and more that are being added constantly. So you're going to see that. You want to be a part of that. You're going to get more benefits out of it. So
For sure.
Once again, to get a part of that community, it's you want to text 843. I lost the number. 843-396-2104 to be part of that community.
Yeah, give us any feedback for the show. Also, if you want to drop Zach some specific feedback on a better internet carrier, I'm sure after this show he's going to be looking into that. Probably somebody with a more stable connection.
Pretty sure it may have been somebody flipped a switch.
It wouldn't happen to be one of your two littles, would it?
One of them's sleeping, so I don't think it's one of them. Maybe the other one. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think this was a great show. We talked about a lot of great points. So come back, listen to us next week. We're on Thursdays. But we also have Winject partners throughout the week, talking about all their different specialties. So anytime you see that alert that you get after having joined the community app, when you see that alert, that lets you know that we're going live, tells you what we're going to be talking about, and you can listen in and learn and grow.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Tune in next week.
This broadcast is brought to you by Winject Studios. We are an all-in-one educational platform for podcasters that revolutionizes how hosts leverage content to increase engagement with listeners, downloads, and income. We come together to focus on community, collaboration, and collective impact. For more information on how you can interact directly with our hosts, access exclusive live content with offers you can't get anywhere else from our official partners, join our purpose-driven community by visiting www.winject.com. If you're ready to build a career doing what you love, then we're ready to see you